I walked into the boutique at a slow hour. The lights were steady. The air smelled like polished glass and perfume. Someone ahead of me got help right away. When it was my turn, the clerk paused, one beat too long. I thought she was tired. I stepped aside to look at a display. That's when I noticed him. A man standing near the watch counter, hands still. Posture quiet. Waiting. The associate behind the counter glanced at him once. A quick scan, then she turned away. Helping a customer who had just walked in, I assumed she didn't hear him. But he had been standing there before I arrived. He checked his phone. A short movement. Then he looked back at the watch case. Nothing dramatic. Nothing loud. Just waiting. The security guard adjusted his stance near the entrance. Eyes on him longer than on anyone else. Not aggressive. Just focused. Enough for me to notice. I shifted closer, pretending to study a necklace. The man finally spoke. Excuse me. Soft. Plain. No pressure in the tone. The associate didn't answer at first. She kept rearranging pieces in straight lines. Slow. Precise. The task needed more time than usual. When she finally turned, her arms were crossed. Her eyebrows lifted a little. Yes. One word. Flat. He pointed to a watch in the case. I'd like to see that model. His voice didn't carry. It barely rose above the hum of the store. She paused. A tiny exhale. Not quite a sigh, but enough to change the air around us. That one? She asked. Her tone stayed light, but not warm. She didn't move to unlock the case. He nodded. Yes. A short laugh escaped her. Quick. Sharp. Not cruel. Just dismissive. You might want something more in your range. The sentence hung there. Still air. Bright lights. People behind me started turning their heads. Phones appeared. Screens angled. I didn't understand the reaction. He hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't asked for anything unusual. Just to see a watch. He kept his calm. I'd still like to see it. The associate looked across the floor at another employee. A small headshake was returned. The kind used to signal don't proceed without saying it aloud. These start at 85,000. She said. Each word is spaced out. As if you didn't know. Not exactly condescending. Just measured. Over-explained. I understand numbers. He replied. The guard shifted again. A step closer now. Not interfering. Not talking. Just watching. The man checked the time on his phone. Brief glance. Like he was counting minutes. A teen with the handbags whispered into her camera. Something's happening. Her screen showed a live stream. Viewers are climbing fast. The associate supervisor walked over. Heels crisp on marble. Is everything all right? She asked. The associate answered quickly. He's asking about the Philippe collection. I explained the pricing. The supervisor turned to the man. Her face is professional. Her eyes were scanning the details. Woody. Jeans. Old backpack. The bent posture of someone trying to move fast. That's all I saw. I can show you the piece. She said. But there's a required deposit to handle it. How much? He asked. 25,000. He nodded once. Reasonable. The supervisor blinked. Not wide. Just enough for me to notice she didn't expect that response. You have that amount available? She asked. Cash or wire transfer? He replied. A small ripple passed across the room. No sound. Just tension shifting shape. His phone buzzed. The caller ID flashed briefly. The supervisor noticed. Her posture changed a fraction. Like a silent recalculation. Still, she said. I'll need identification and a credit card. He opened his wallet. Simple leather. He pulled out a black card. Heavier than most. He placed it gently on the counter. The associate picked it up. Her expression froze for half a second. She walked away to verify it. The supervisor stayed. Watching him. Watching the room. Watching the phone's recording. I looked around. Everyone else had paused their shopping. Even the guard seemed unsure of what he was watching. Time stretched. The electronic terminal near the back lit up, then dimmed, then lit again. A flicker. Minicliff. Even I felt it. Something wasn't syncing. The associate returned. Her voice is low. There seems to be an issue with processing. What kind of issue? He asked. Additional verification. She said. No detail. No explanation. The supervisor added, maybe we can schedule for another day. I have a few minutes. He said, then I need to leave. Viewers on the teen's livestream doubled. Comments are flowing too fast to read. The guard stepped forward. He looked uneasy. Not toward the man, toward the situation building around him. The supervisor's posture stiffened. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're making customers uncomfortable. He looked around slowly. People weren't avoiding him. They were watching the staff. What specifically have I done? He asked. You're disrupting operations. How? He asked. No one answered. My shoulder tightened. Not fear. Recognition. Like I had seen this pattern somewhere before. In smaller forms. Then a woman in her 20s spoke up. He didn't do anything. The supervisor cut her off. Ma'am, please don't interfere. But the murmurs around us said the room had already chosen a side. Phones lifted higher. Screens glowed brighter. The tension settled thick across the floor. Long shadows. Longer silence. I still didn't know what I was witnessing, but I knew it wasn't about a watch anymore. Something underneath the surface had cracked. The room didn't move at first. Only breaths. Only the screens are glowing. Only the guard shifted his weight again. As if waiting for a signal he didn't want to receive. The supervisor repeated, Sir, please leave. Short. Firm. Practiced. He didn't push back. He didn't raise his voice. He only asked, on what grounds? No answer came. Just a tight jaw. A sharp inhale. A silent commitment to the path she'd already taken. The associate hovered behind her. Hands pressed together. Eyes on the floor. Her body language said uncertainty. Even if her lips stayed closed. The guard tried again. This time quieter. Sir, maybe we can step aside. Not a command. More like an escape hatch. But the man shook his head once. Calm. Still. I asked to see a watch. He said. Nothing more. The supervisor's reply was automatic. You've disrupted our process. Her words carried structure. A phrase pulled from policy. A phrase designed to shut things down. But the store didn't shut down. It tightened. The energy changed shape. Not anger. Pressure. A few customers stopped pretending to browse. One elderly man put his glasses away. Another woman lowered her handbag slowly. As if the act of shopping no longer made sense. I found myself holding my breath without meaning to. The associate returned the black card to the counter. She placed it gently, almost carefully. There was no mockery now. Just silence. We can't complete the verification, she said. Her voice is thinner this time. Is the system down? He asked. I'm not sure. She looked at the supervisor for support. The supervisor didn't meet her eyes. The teen with the phone whispered again. Chat's blowing up. Her viewers had doubled. The number is rising like the temperature. But the man didn't look at the camera. He didn't look at anyone. He kept his hands behind his back. Patient. Controlled. A posture that said he had been here before. The supervisor exhaled. A long one. The kind that carries frustration without admitting to it. She finally said, Sir, if you don't leave, we'll have to escalate this. The guard flinched slightly at the word escalate. How are you escalating? He asked. Another pause. The supervisor looked at the guard. A subtle gesture. The kind managers use when they want someone else to handle the uncomfortable part. He swallowed. Sir, I might need to call authorities. The room reacted before the man did. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just unsettled. A woman near the scarves let out a small gasp. Another whispered, This is too much. Someone lifted their phone a little higher. But the man didn't change expression. He checked the time again. A simple glance. "I have a few minutes," he said. "I'd like to understand the process you're following." That sentence shifted something. It wasn't confrontational. It wasn't defensive. It was procedural. Precise. Grounded. The supervisor blinked. Another recalculation in her mind. Visible only in her eyes. "We're following protocol," she said. "Which part?" he asked. She didn't answer. Her silence stretched thin, like glass under pressure. My shoulders tightened again. Not from fear, from recognition. This was no longer confusion. This was accumulated friction. The guard looked at the man, then at the phones, then at the supervisor. His voice dropped. "Maybe we should pause here." It was the first time anyone suggested slowing down instead of pushing forward. But the supervisor shook her head. "We can't. This is interfering with operations." She turned to the guard. "Escort him out." The guard hesitated. A visible conflict. He didn't approach. He didn't speak for several seconds. Finally, he stepped forward. But only halfway. "Sir, can we talk outside?" The man shook his head again. "I haven't raised my voice," he said. "I haven't touched anything. I haven't disrespected anyone." Each line is short, unemotional. A record of events. The supervisor glanced toward the back room. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down. Her eyes widened a fraction. Just a fraction. Enough for me to notice the shift. The associate also looked at her own phone. Notifications filled the screen. She swallowed hard. The color drained slightly from her face. A tiny crack in the system. Someone whispered, "I think corporate is watching." The supervisor's posture stiffened. Her eyes darted toward the entryway. Then back to the man. No words. I didn't know what message she had just seen, but I knew it tilted the floor beneath her. The man's voice stayed steady. "I asked a question," he said. "What policy am I violating?" Another silence. Heavier than the last. The supervisor opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened again. Nothing came out. The guard finally spoke. Barely above a whisper. "I don't know," he said. That line hit the room harder than any shout could have. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Phones are caught every second. The supervisor's phone buzzed again. Long vibration. Urgh. She stepped away toward the back counter. Her face turned pale, then tense. And in that moment, that quiet, fractured moment, I realized I wasn't watching a disagreement. I was watching a system misfire. A structure failing under its own weight. Procedure collapsing into panic. Something was about to break, and I could feel the shift before it happened. The supervisor stood frozen for a moment. Her phone buzzed again. A longer alert this time. She read the screen. Her posture shifted, spine straighter, shoulders tight, a reaction she didn't voice. She looked toward the register, then toward the man, then toward the cameras in customers' hands. The associate stepped closer. Her voice is small. "We should maybe check with upstairs." Upstairs. A single word that changed the air. The guard lowered his walkie-talkie. He wasn't moving toward the man anymore. He wasn't moving at all. He looked like someone trying to decide which rule mattered more. The supervisor swallowed. When she finally spoke, her tone had lost its edge. "Sir," she said quietly, "please wait here." The man didn't sit. He didn't step back. He simply nodded. A simple nod. But something in it steadied the entire room. She walked to the back office. Her heels didn't sound sharp this time. More like she was walking on something fragile. The associate stayed by the counter, silent. Still, her hands trembled slightly as she rearranged the same 3 pieces of jewelry again and again. The guard released a slow breath. The kind you release when you've been holding it too long. I watched the man, hands behind his back, eyes calm. No shift in posture. Just patience layered over quiet certainty. My chest tightened. Not fear. Recognition. Systems don't collapse loudly. They collapse in small pauses like this. The teen filming whispered, "Chat says corporate's involved." Her viewer count kept climbing. Minutes passed. Short ones, long ones. Hard to tell the difference in that air. Then the supervisor returned. Her expression wasn't defensive now. Not angry. Not certain. Just adjusted. She stopped in front of him. A long pause. Then, "Sir, we're going to proceed differently." No apology. No explanation. Just a shift in protocol. Quiet. Controlled. Unmistakable. She turned to the associate. "Retrieve the piece." The associate blinked. Once. Then nodded quickly and walked to the locked case. The room changed shape again. Not relief. Not victory. Just alignment. The watch was placed on a velvet tray. Hands steady now. Movements. Careful. The supervisor stepped aside. The man leaned in to view the piece. Slow. Focused. Unbothered by the crowd that had gathered. He didn't say much. Just examined it, like someone with limited time and a clear purpose. The associate asked, "Lighting? Okay." "Sir." Her voice stayed even. Without rise or fall. "Go da sua." Thay Cho. Her tone was neutral. The guard took a small step back. The tension in his shoulders finally dropped. The supervisor checked her phone once more. Whatever she saw made her inhale sharply, but she didn't speak about it. Quiet correction. No. Spectacly. Just the system adjusting itself because it had to. After a few more minutes, the man straightened. "Thank you," he said. Calm. Measured. The same tone he had used the entire time. He didn't accuse anyone. He didn't point fingers. He didn't raise his voice. He simply acknowledged the service. Finally given. The supervisor nodded. A small motion. Almost imperceptible. He left the display. Walked toward the exit. The guard stepped aside without being asked. As he reached the doors, he paused. Not dramatic. Just a breath-long pause. Then he walked out. No one said a word for several seconds. The room held the silence like a weight. The associate put the watch back in the case. Her hands are steadier now, but her eyes stayed on the door he'd just walked through. The supervisor stood completely still. She looked at the customers, at the phones, at the guard. Then, finally, she came down on her own hands. Hands that had been sure of every step an hour ago. Not so sure now. The teen ended her live stream. "Wow," she whispered. Not mocking, not excited. Just stunned. Customers dispersed slowly. Quiet steps. Unspoken thoughts. I stayed a moment longer. Long enough to watch the supervisor take out a notebook. She began writing something. Short lines. Precise. Procedural. Maybe a report. Maybe a reflection. Maybe the start of a different system. I didn't know, but I knew something had shifted. Not because of force, not because of exposure, but because the process had shown itself in a mirror it couldn't ignore. When I finally walked out, the street air felt different. Lighter. Or maybe I was the one who felt different. Not because of what happened to him, but because of what the store revealed about itself. Some truths don't arrive with noise. They arrive in pauses. And this one settled heavily. A system only shows its real shape when someone asks it to follow its own rules. If you've ever witnessed a moment like this, a small action revealing a larger system, share your story in the comments. Your voice keeps these conversations alive. Your experience may help someone else see what they once overlooked. Like, share, and subscribe to Black CEO Tales for quieter stories. More system reveals, and more lessons hidden inside ordinary moments.